Good morning. Hi. Oh, it's nice just to be up here and see all your faces today because I'm not here all the time. So for those that don't know me, like my husband said, he was the one that opened. I know the leadership team can be kind of confusing because my husband has a beard and Nate has a beard. And then we have two Rachels and two Nates or Nathaniels. And so it's like, which one? So my husband was the one that opened in prayer this morning. And he had said, you know, it's so good to see you. We don't take it lightly that you guys gave your Saturday morning up. Hey, Lynette. I didn't see you come in. And so I've been around these parts for 16 years, part of the House of Prayer for 16 years, and I've seen a lot of faces come and go, and it's a beautiful thing because some of them come, and then they leave, and then they come back, and it's times and seasons that God has ordained. Yeah. And it's all beautiful, but your storyline is being interwoven with the House of Prayer here in St. Louis, and God's writing a beautiful symphony for our city. And so my husband Kyle said thank you. Nathaniel said thank you. Nate, who's speaking after me, will probably say thank you. But it is really just an honor and a beautiful thing. So I am very pregnant, so if I sound out of breath, it's because I just walked up here. And Kyle will call me and he'll be like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, I'm not in labor. He's like, well, I figured if you were, he would lead out and, hey, I'm in labor. Let's talk about that first before anything else. But anyway, so I've also been on staff here in a vocational measure for 12 years, and then serving on the leadership team for around 8 or 9 years. It was fuzzy when Kyle and I were talking about it last night. I was like, how long have I been doing this? And it's still an honor and a beautiful thing. So Nate's actually going to be the one that's giving us encouragement and vision and perseverance, and we're going for it. But I'm going to give us a few reminders, and I'm also going to take us back and just touch on some of the prophetic story that we had hit on last time, which was early in February, our last Vision Breakfast. I'm going to recap it for those that were here but kind of forgot, and I know I kind of did. I was like, what did we say? And for those that are new. So a couple of reminders are, if you are on a team set, this is a reminder, we are asking, and we always ask, that you find your replacement. If you can't make it, I know sometimes things come up last minute, you find a replacement, but talk to your worship leader, because a lot of times they already know someone that might be able to gel with their team, or someone that subbed for them before. And so, just let your worship leader know, like, hey, I'm not able to make it. Is there anyone you want me to call, or do you know anyone that could potentially sub? If you're a devotional leader, or you are a small group prayer leader, then touch base with your section leader. If you don't have any numbers and you're like, I can't make it, but I have no idea who to contact. Your section leader should have contacts, and if they don't, they'll probably reach out to someone on the leadership team, most likely Nathaniel or myself. But we just want to say that because sometimes we know things come up, and we don't mind web streaming because, we love prayer and worship, and sometimes that's just how it goes. But we also want to try to be diligent in finding a replacement if it's possible. And sometimes it's not. I think one week we had a 4-hour time slot, and we had 4 or 3 different hours that weren't filled, and that's okay because it happens. Because, like sickness and just all sorts of craziness, people out of town, and just could not find a sub. So that's not a big deal, but we want to at least try to contact 2 or 3 people. So that's just a reminder, friendly reminder. All Devo people, we want to remind you that it is important to meet with your section leader either 15 minutes before or 15 minutes after your set. The reason we do this is back in the day, Devo people would come in, they would do their amazing hour, and then they would leave. And sometimes it would feel kind of isolating, like you're just serving, but you're not really, unless you're reading the emails or something like that, you're not really getting any information. So one of the roles of a section leader is they're not only a prayer room manager of sorts, but they want to give you information about, hey, these are some of the upcoming things happening at GHAP. I'm talking too fast. I'm just going to slow down for breathing purposes. We do have a nurse in the room, so it's okay. Several nurses. Good, we got this. Be a first, delivering a baby at the house of prayer. But we want to meet with you because, A, we actually care about you. It's not just like, hey, we need you to serve. We're going to throw you, like, burn on the altar before the Lord. We care about you as a person. I remember one time someone came in and they just had a really rough day. And sometimes we have those rough days and it's just like, I cannot pour out. And the Lord continues to give us grace and invites us to just pour out on his altar and still do our set. And then there's other days where one of, I section lead here, and I'm actually over the section leaders, but this lady, she's so faithful. She's not here today because she's out of the country, but she's so faithful in her Devo, and she was just like, I am exhausted. I've been working since 4 a.m. She has a very demanding job, and I just said, I'm going to send you home today. Because as much as we do want people to find replacements, and as much as we, love live sets, I'm like, you need to sleep and you need grace. And so we care about you guys and how you are doing as well. So our section leaders are people that they can just touch base with you and say, hey, is there anything going on in your life that I can be praying for you about? Or, hey, don't forget about the vision breakfast. It'll be really delicious and amazing, and you'll want to go. But we want to make sure that we're sitting down with our people either 15 minutes before or after. I know some people have to rush out after their set, so I say, hey, no problem. Or they were running late. I'm like, I will walk with you to the car, not as a stalker, but just I want to capitalize on that time and just be able to connect with them. So that's a reminder as well. We want to be making sure we're meeting either for the Devos specifically, 15 minutes before or after, not both. Devos are just one or the other. A team set, as you guys know, they meet typically a half an hour before or half an hour after. And you guys, for the teams, know the dynamics of that, so I won't get into it. Except we do want to make sure that we are focusing on the set, and as a section leader, we want to redirect the conversation back to always the set. So beforehand, we'll talk about, the worship leader is typically talking about what songs they're going to do, the prayer leader is talking about prayer topics, and we don't want to have people derailing that conversation. Sometimes we're just shooting the breeze because we're all friends, but we want to make sure that those things have been addressed and talked about. And the same for afterwards. We want to talk about what the Lord was doing in the room. What were you feeling? Was everything clear? Did you guys understand? Sometimes in debriefs we'll be like, hey, I was really off the click track, or I was whatever. And that's a time that we can talk about these things. But we always say, we did it. We showed up, and it was beautiful to the Lord. But sometimes, we get off the click track, and that's okay. So a couple other things that I'm just going to touch on, and then I'm going to jump into the recapping of the dreams, which is way more exciting than just me talking to you about some of the reminders. But we also want to invite you guys, we want to develop prayer leader teams. So we have amazing prayer leaders in this house of prayer, but we want prayer leader teams so that maybe we'll have the main person who is the prayer leader, but we want to also develop assistant prayer leaders or people that are part of that team. They may not be the ones that are specifically leading, starting the cycle off, but they're saying, I want to be part of the team and I want to commit to coming for this set and praying every time that there is a prayer cycle and seeking the Lord, what can I be praying? So if that's something that you're like, oh, I really just don't want to be the main prayer person, but you're like, I would actually be interested in being part of a team, it's less daunting, we're looking for that. Or we're also talking about that with section leaders. There's a lot that goes into being a prayer room manager, where we are also we always encourage our section leaders, ask the Lord, what are you doing in this time frame, especially for the intercession sets. Like, what are you saying? So sometimes people are like, I don't know if I could manage the whole prayer room, but maybe be an assistant section leader and learn kind of the ropes with that. And lastly, we want your friends to be our friends. Meaning that we love referrals. If you know people, I know Leah brought her friend on board, which is amazing. So if you know someone that you're like, they just really have a heart for prayer, they really have a heart for worship, or the Lord's stirring something in their heart, I think they could benefit. Just invite them to the prayer room. It doesn't, you don't have to sign up and start serving right away. We often tell people, like, why don't you just come and be with us? Just come and be in the prayer room. Check out our online sets. We have 3 different kinds of sets: the intercession, full team sets, the devotional sets, the small group prayers, and they all look different. And different personalities kind of click with different sets. And so I get to do this with some of my very best friends, and it is awesome. So I just want to say, if you think of anyone, we want you to invite them, and we are commissioning you to do so. Also, not just because of what, we need people to serve. It's not really about just that, but we also want people to encounter the Lord in a greater measure. Like I said, when I started coming here 16 years ago, I was just a young 20-something-year-old who found out about the House of Prayer and was coming on my lunch break. And I was encountering God, and God was breaking stuff off my life that I didn't even know I had, in my life that needed to be broken off, because I was like, I'm pretty good with God, I got things together in my 20s. And it was amazing what the Lord cultivated in my heart. And then he ended up 4 years later, after just attending and starting to volunteer, he invited me to do this on a full-time capacity. But that's what we want for people. We want more prayer. We always say, like, someone will say, oh, this church is starting a prayer room. We say, awesome, we love that. It's not about, we're not competing against another praying community. We celebrate and we rejoice in that, because more prayer, more worship is always a win. So anyways, we want your friends to be our friends, not just so that they can serve, but maybe God has something for them in this storyline. All right. So I'm going to recap a couple things, and then Nate's going to come up. Back in November, I don't know if anyone here, Tuesday night team, we have Scotty representing. Thanks, Scotty. And Tiffy's here too. I'm trying to think. Debbie, Kyle. Yeah, okay, so we have a few people from our Tuesday night. Alyssa. We did I guess, would you call it a dramatic reading, babe? Is it a dramatic reading of the book of Revelation? Super dramatic. So it was awesome. Oh no, you're fine. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. It was awesome. And they read through, we used to have a set years ago where every week a gentleman by the name of Vince LaRusso would read through the book of Revelation. And he would do the voices just by himself. And it was pretty powerful. And he was like, I want to do this where it's like we have different people doing different voices. Oh, Keith is here too. Keith was actually one of the angels. He's our section leader on Tuesday nights. And it was awesome. Like, I don't know, you could go back because it was recorded November 15th, a Tuesday night. And it was powerful. Well, after that, we were like, well, that was pretty cool. Maybe we should do that every year or something, where we just take time to read the book of Revelation and sit under that. And the singers sing the book of Revelation, and there were voices, and it was still a prayer set, but it was amazing. It was very different from some of the other ones that we've done. Anyways, fast forward, we had felt, after the turning of the new year, we were like, okay, God, what are we going to do for this new year? We launched, well, I'll get to the book of Revelation in a second. So we launched a 21-day fast in January. And so during that fast, one of the Rachels on the leadership team, who's married to Nate, the other bearded person on the leadership team, she ends up having a dream. Rachel, was it during the fast or after the fast?
After. It was right after.
Right after. Okay. So we had just completed a 21-day fast. And as you guys know, whenever it's the new year, it's like it's always kind of like a reset. Just like, okay, Lord, what do you have planned for this coming year? And so Rachel has a dream within a dream. You've never had a dream within a dream before, have you, Rachel? Is this the first time? Has anyone seen Inception? Gosh, it's such a good movie. If you haven't seen it, I'm not saying it's Christ-based or anything, but it's really good. They have dreams within dreams, and it's like, oh, this is so trippy, man. But anyway, it was dreamception is pretty much what she had. And I won't go into the entire dream, but one of the levels of dreams that she was having, she heard the words very clearly. I'm going to read it. Don't build roads, build walls. Build up, not out. And it was in regards to the house of prayer. So
Say it again.
Don't build roads, build walls. Build up, not out. So that could mean a lot of things. Whenever God gives you a dream, sometimes it's a little cryptic and you're like, what the heck? So we're like, okay, well, build walls. What does that mean? If you think of like a city, or if you even do some research, sorry, I'm just trying to recap, not explain everything to you, but walls typically around a city can represent strength or protection. And so we started being like, okay, God, what does that mean? What does that look like? And we really felt like the Lord was saying, like, strengthen the community was one of the things. He was saying multiple things, but strengthen the community, and building up, we felt like was, building a more worship and prayer. Like Nathaniel said a year ago, we've increased from 20-something to now almost tipping the scales at 40 hours a week. And to also pray for protection as well for the things ahead. Sometimes we can't always see what's coming, but we want to pray for protection for our community, for our volunteers. So we were like, okay, God, what else does that mean? Like, don't build roads, okay? And we really felt like the Lord was saying, like, we don't need to, we've had people come up to us and say, hey, I want to start like this department over here, and I want to invite all of these artists and it's going to be awesome. We're like, that does sound awesome. But from the strategy of the Lord, we were like, but we're not supposed to just be creating all these inroads for all these different things. We felt like the Lord was bringing us back, and I'm going to tie that together with the book of Revelation as well, saying focus. I want you to focus on worship and prayer and doing it together, building the walls of worship and intercession, and building up, not out. So we're like, okay, this dream means something. A couple days later, my husband, who is not really a dreamer so much, he has a dream within a dream. And Rachel Pankey is in the dream giving him instruction about the dream. So we were like, well, that's really interesting. Rachel just has a dream within a dream. I will say before this, I was asking the Lord to give the leadership team specifically, so we have weekly meetings, and it's the four of us that are much more like opinionated or long-winded, or I'm one of them, and we sometimes talk too much. Anyways, it's the big four is what Rachel Herbert calls us. It's Nathan, Nathaniel, Nate who's going to share, Harry, and myself. Anyways, I was like, Lord, don't give it to one of us. Like, we just sometimes are just too much. I was like, give it to, one of the ones that really hear you. One of the Rachels or Kyle, And so it was really amazing to me that I had just prayed this, and then Rachel has a dream after the 21-day fast, and then my husband has a dream where Rachel's giving him instruction with a dream within a dream. And so his dream was, and I'm going to wrap it up, his dream was Rachel told him in the inner dream, follow Billy, don't pass him. Follow Billy. And so, boom, pops into the next dream, and dreamception. And he's running a race. And in this race, he's running next to this guy named Billy. And Billy's not going very fast. And Kyle's like, oh, man, I'm feeling good. Like, my husband does triathlete. He's a triathlete. He does triathlons and stuff. He's like, I'm feeling pretty good. And Billy's like, nope, do not pass me. Stay with me. We have to go slow. It's strategic. And Kyle said he was getting frustrated because he was feeling so good, he just wanted to like take off. And Billy's like, stay with me. So all of that, we're thinking, okay, sometimes when we're feeling good and feeling in our strength, God has strategy of the things ahead that we can't see. So the things that we were taking from this is God still saying when we were praying. So Rachel recapped or told the dreams and talked more about this last vision breakfast. But even with this vision breakfast, we were talking like, okay, Lord, what do you want to say? What are you doing? And again, a dream. God, if you guys are dreamers in the room, you know. We actually don't have a ton of dreams on the leadership team, which is crazy. I mean, we have dreams, but it's not like all the time. We're like, oh, I had a dream. Oh, I had a dream. But I recently had a dream when we were praying, like, Lord, what do you want us to say in this vision breakfast? Is there any different direction? And it felt like the Lord was just saying, stay the course. It was very simple. I was making copies for a man named Billy Humphrey, who is the director of a house of prayer down in Atlanta. And it was so simple. It was just like taking notes, And I was like, stay the course. And so that's what we felt like the Lord was saying. That's what Nate's going to be talking about. We're staying the course. God had spoke to us at the beginning of the year. Build up, not out. Build walls, not roads. Go slow. Even sometimes it feels like it's in your strength. And just follow the leading of the Lord. And so with my dream, just like, okay, we're still taking notes. We're still following the Lord, not actually a man named Billy, but we're following the Lord, and we don't want to pass the Lord up. And what does William mean? Strong? Resolute protector. And we feel like, as we follow the Lord, we will be under the shadow of his wing, under his protection. And because we're feeling good or strong, or just because we can, doesn't mean that we should. Yeah, so, anyways, going slow is strategic. So I talked about Book of Revelation. I'm wrapping up with this, Nate, if you want to start coming up here. When we did the Book of Revelation back in November, someone's like, we're doing a rotation of worship with the Word. For those that don't know what that is, we have a full team that instead of praying into a prayer topic, they have a scripture and they read a verse or two or four, and then the singers sing the scripture. So that was kind of what had happened with the Book of Revelation, except we did the entire book. And someone had said, I believe it was maybe Susie Pankey, had said, I think that maybe when we do worship the Word, we should do the Book of Revelation. And I feel like Nate had thought that, and there was a couple other confirmations. And so then we were like, but let's do it together. Like, not just because normally it's like the Tuesday night team does it for 1 month, the next month the Monday morning team does it. We would rotate the different teams because we love intercession and we didn't want to just stop all intercession. And I'm an intercession girl. There's always a topic to pray about. I don't think there's ever a lack of something to pray about. And so it wasn't that the Lord was saying, do not pray, but he was just saying, I want you to focus. And the Book of Revelation, specifically on chapters 4 and 5, a few of those key verses is like, come up here, come up higher. And so with just all the prophetic swirl and the Lord, what we feel like is the Lord just saying, stay the course, is we're going slow, we want to go low, and we want to go low, but yet come up higher, meaning we want to gaze and behold the Lamb who sits upon the throne. We want to see what the elders see, that they're casting down their crowns, time and time again, that the living creatures continue to say, holy, holy, holy. And so we did the month of April, not just the intercession teams, we also invited our Devo people. They started singing the Book of Revelation. Our small group prayer people started praying it. We have one Caroline leads, it's for the government, and they were praying for the government out of the Book of Revelation. They were beholding, they would just pause and say, okay, well, we're going to take this time just to pause and behold the Lord and meditate on Scripture. And what we felt like the Lord was saying, like, I want you to gaze upon me and my character and my nature. I want you to go slow because it's what's needed, not just for today, because it is needed for today, but it's also needed for what's ahead. And so God is inviting us to return to our first love, not to be busy building roads, but to be busy gazing and beholding the one who sits on the throne. And so that's where we are still at. We were there at the beginning of the year. We're still there, asking the Lord, show us more. How do we build these walls? And how do we follow you and not run ahead or lag behind? So he's worthy and we want to behold him, and that's the main thing. So Nate's going to talk into that.